What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. Just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000 more, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And the offer ends very soon, and just about a couple of months from now. Anyways, as far as the market is going, exactly as predicted, we're seeing SPY getting very close to all-time highs. We're also seeing the QQQ continuing to push, but now we're approaching some tough resistance, so we'll be watching to see how things end up reacting. So I'll talk more about the charts in the next couple of minutes, but I want to talk about some big news that's come out. There's this big news that's come out that President Trump has announced the private sector is going to receive a $500 billion investment into AI infrastructure. And this is big news for AI out there, especially our data centers. So what is this so why is this so important? What is so big about this? What's going on? Well, there's been some news that's come out that we look at the AI developments that are coming. They're requiring enormous amounts of computing power, pushing demand for specialized data centers that enable tech companies to link thousands of chips together. And Trump said that they have to produce a lot of electricity and will make it possible for them to get that into production very easily. So that's something very, very important. As you guys are knowing, US power consumption is going to be rising with AI data centers, and having the right resources for that is necessary to make that a possibility. And that's something that Trump has been pushing very recently. Now, you guys could view this however you want. I just want to say that this is technically bullish news for some AI stocks out there. It's part of why we're seeing stocks like Nvda taking off right now, and that's good for at least the QQQs and the others. But there's other pieces of news that are also dictating the way that the market's going to be moving. So I'll focus on those first, and I'll break down more details. So just know that today is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. Okay, we had some mortgage data coming out in the morning. Most of this was quite minor. But then we have Redbook that's going to be coming out. So we have some data coming out at 8:55 a.m. And then we also happen to have some bill and bond auctions at 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Besides that, we had some earnings. As you guys know, Netflix announced their earnings yesterday. They did very, very well. They made a very, very big announcement that they beat on EPS and revenue. They had a total subscriber count of 302 million subscribers as of the end of last year. So that's just like a couple of weeks ago. They gained 19 million subscribers in Q4. Their guidance was very strong. They raised it. And they also announced a very, very nice share buyback program, which got investors very hyped. So Netflix is on fire. It's exploding. This is very good for at least the market. Very positive sentiments, at least thus far. And this is going to likely continue at least as time goes on. So just wanted to call that out. We also had more earnings that came out. We had P&G, not to mention Johnson & Johnson that just came out. So I'll be talking about how those earnings went, and I'll break down these charts. So just know that P&G ended up announcing that they beat on EPS and revenue, so not bad whatsoever. Their EPS was at $1.88 above expectations. Revenues at $21.88 billion above expectations. And nice growth overall, so good job by them. For Johnson & Johnson, we also had some news that's come out for them. They ended up beating on their EPS with $2.04 adjusted above expectations. Their sales are up 5.3% to $22.52 billion above expectations, and they reiterated their guidance, looking pretty good so far. We had a slight increase for what they're expecting for their sales, and their EPS is up a little bit. So not bad whatsoever for 2025. Good guidance, and that's why the share price is up. Last thing, Apple's been dipping quite a bit because of news involving the fact that their December sales declined in China, and they got a slight downgrade from JP Morgan. So we got some negative news for Apple. Besides Apple, though, the rest of the market was still very resilient and still approaching all-time highs. Netflix is on fire. It's still up like 15% after that insane earnings report. And then I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy, at least on the news. United Airlines did well for their earnings, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to be focusing now on the charts for the rest of the video. One thing worth mentioning is that SPY was very, very resilient, very, very strong, pushing very nicely. But we are going to be approaching this all-time high area. We're known for having a lot of chop between 608 and 605. I don't think we're just going to break 608 that easily. If we break 608, we're going into the 610s pretty fast. If we end up losing 603, we're looking for a move back down towards 600. So just keep those levels in mind. For now, what's going to likely happen is we push a little bit higher. We might see a little bit of chop up here. So look for some chop. And we'll see if we break out higher. If we get a rejection, we'll be watching that very closely. But as of right now, SPY could go a little bit higher, try to get closer to the all-time high before it chops around a bit. So please keep that in mind. It's still doing a great job at pushing. May push a little bit higher before we see some chop, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For the QQQ, we have 530's resistance, not to mention 533. And if we end up losing support at 527, we're looking for a dip back down. I think the QQQ is going to be pushing for essentially 530. And if that breaks, we go a little bit higher. So look for 530. If this could break, we could go higher into like 533 or so. We'll see if we break or not. But then if we reject, then we're looking for 527, which is where this gap happens to be if we get that rejection. But we're looking for a little bit more upside as we approach the 530s and 533 area, and we'll see if we get some kind of rejection or not. So watch that very closely. For now, we are favoring upside into the 530s for a small push, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For the Russell 2000, we had this resistance around this 230 area. We'll have to see if we could break that or not. If we can't break and hold above 230, there's going to be a risk of us dipping lower towards 227. We'll see if we bounce or not off of that, but look for a small decline if we can't break 230. So I just want to give you guys a warning about that. For ES, I think we could push a little bit more into this resistance zone. So we have 61.25 to about 61.60 is our range of resistance near the all-time high. I think we will push a little bit more into this, and we'll see if we get some kind of rejection or not. It's going to be a very, very big chop zone. So it could push a little bit higher and see some chop here, and we'll see, do we get some kind of rejection or do we just break out? I do expect a lot of chop up here because it's not a very easy zone to break out of that quickly. Might be some chop just to start things off. So I want to give you guys a warning. NQ is very close to my 22,000 target. I did call that out. So I might go a little higher, get close to 22,000. We'll see if we break that or not. If we could break through this, it's going to be a tough resistance. So there could be some, chop up here before we see something else. And we'll see if we get a rejection or not. But look for a little bit more upside, might push a little bit more. And we'll see what the reaction is once we hit that resistance. For Bitcoin, we're dipping right here. We have to try to hold 102,360 for us to bounce. If we can't do that, there's going to be a risk of us dipping here, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. So watch that very closely. We could dip a little bit more, and we'll see if we get a bounce. Nvda is looking bullish. We hit my 145 target. If that breaks, we push closer to 150. For rejection, we're looking for essentially 140. I think we might dip a little bit on Nvidia to retest like 143, and we'll see if we bounce and just continue to push for 150. We could be forming kind of like a cup and handle here, so I'll be watching that very closely. Tesla is dipping a little bit because of some negative news from yesterday. We have this blue trend line that was holding us up since October. As long as this holds, we could continue to uptrend slowly, so just keep that in mind. Might be a small dip towards 413, if not 415. And we'll see if we just continue to slowly make our way up higher and higher like this. If we end up losing around that 413 to 410 area, we could be dipping a lot lower, all the way back down towards 402. So if 413 to 410 breaks, we dip lower to 402. As long as this holds, we could continue to uptrend very, very nicely. So that's going to be very big for us, at least moving forward. For Apple, we're also looking at the support right here at this 220 area. We'll see if we bounce or not. We need to base at 220. If that's the case, we could bounce for 225. But we'll see about Apple. It's still a little bit lackluster. Just for a few more of these, we have Coin. Coin is showing some weakness because of Bitcoin slowing. It might retest 283, if not 276, and we'll see if we bounce off any of those levels or not to continue to push. But look for a small decline. Amazon's at resistance at 233. We'll see if we break this or not. If we can't break this, we could decline to 230. If we do break this, we're looking for 235 plus as our target. So it's at some tough resistance. I think it's going to be pushing a little bit more. I think it has a little bit more left for 233, and we'll see, do we reject off this or do we, break out? So be careful. It's going to be a tough resistance up here at 233. We'll see if Amazon can break that or not. If we can't break that, immediately look for a small rejection back down towards like 230, if not 228. Then we'll see if we bounce again. But watch for a test of 233, and we'll see what the reaction is. For Meta, we have an inverse head and shoulders like structure. We have this resistance at 625. If that doesn't break, we have that gap to fill below. So we'll see if we dip and then bounce again off this inverse head and shoulders. So just be very, very careful. We'll see what kind of reaction we get off of that. It still looks bullish. Microsoft is looking more bullish. As long as we don't lose 432, we could be favoring an attempt for 440. And then Google, we need to hold above 200 and then break 202. If 202 breaks, we're looking for 205 and 210 as our targets. We could try to break out of this channel if that's the case, but so far we were not able to do that. We were not able to do that yet. We'll have to see if we do that or not. If we lose 198, we turn back down. So let's see if 200 holds and 202 breaks for us to remain bullish. Anyways, that's it for my video. Thank you all for listening. I'll be back in a couple of hours for another update. Thanks again, and peace out.